You heard that all night?
Yeah.
I didn't hear that all night. Man, it went great. It went great. I love the idea, and I immediately agreed to come to this event because I just thought it was, you know, over and beyond the V Foundation. I just thought it was a great event to throw for the Kentucky basketball fans. You know, the time and the effort that Jeff Shepard spends and gives back to the Kentucky fans is just remarkable. And then to be involved with him and Rex Chapman, who, you know, when I was a junior in high school, he was, you know, one of the best players in the country. And I went to the same camp that he worked at, and I looked up to him. And I wanted to be a great basketball player, just like he was a great basketball player at that time. So to come and do this with Jeff and Rex, and for the Kentucky fans who, you know, there's nothing wrong with booing and yelling and cursing somebody every once in a while. And if I happen to be that person to let them vent, that's perfectly fine. But they should be mad at me, you know, for what I did to their team in 1992, and, you know, kind of, people say cut the hearts out of it. But it wasn't that, it was just, everyone was pulling for that team so much back then. They were just getting out of suspension. They were overachievers, you know, only one super megastar in Mashburn. So the average everyday person just fell in love with that team. So to have them go out in the way they did with me hitting that shot, you know, it was hard, and I understand that.
You seem to embrace the boos. Talk about embracing, putting the arms up in the air, embracing the boos.
Well, that's just part of my personality, and I think it was something that made me good on the basketball court, especially in the away arena, is that you have to feed off that a little bit. The way I rationalized through it, and the way I tricked myself in my own head, is that, you know, if they didn't hate you so much, they might love you. So, but, you know, there's a thin line between love and hate, and I think what I want more than anything is just for the basketball fan to say, well, Laettner did good that night against us, or the Kentucky fan. I don't need the Kentucky fan to say I like him or I love him. I just want them to maybe say, well, I respect the game he played against us that night because it was a great game. That's all.
At one point during the action, you wandered down the sideline and were whispering something to Rex. Was that the little scene at the end after the second technical that you guys were working on?
Well, I had to tell him what to do around here, you know, the whole night long. I had to tell Jeff, you know, how to make it funny and enjoyable. No, we were just throwing around ideas the whole night, and we knew we were going to do the, you know, get tossed out of the game thing. But then when somebody slipped on the floor, all the fans started yelling, Laettner, get on the floor and wipe up your sweat. So that wasn't pre-planned. That was just something on the fly that some of the fans wanted me to do, and I thought it was a really good idea, and they seemed to enjoy it. I don't know if you noticed, but when I got on all fours and started wiping the floor, like everybody stood up and started taking little photos with their camera, and hopefully they're Facebooking it and Twittering it and all that stuff. But you know, that's what it's here for. That's what we're here for, just to have fun, and I think the Kentucky fans had fun tonight, and hopefully they did.
Rex, how hard did you coach tonight?
Oh, God. If I was Jeff Shepard, I'd have my head. It was terrible. Look, you know, I've had a lot of, I've got a little different perspective, obviously. Nobody, and I mean nobody, hated the guy to my right as a Kentucky basketball fan any more than I did that night that he made that shot of that great game. As a basketball fan and somebody rooting for Kentucky, I can remember where I was. You know, never forget it. Sitting in the loft of my apartment. I was hurt. I think it was my third or fourth year in the league, and I was back here for a couple of weeks, and he makes that shot, and I mean, it did. It just ripped the heart out of my chest, and I hated him. And that's how Kentucky fans are going to be. But we can sit here and say whatever we want. Christian Laettner was, arguably the greatest college player we've ever seen. I mean, you can make the argument. The career that he had, he's in the top 5 for sure, 10 for sure, top 5 probably. The career that he had, the championships that he won, the teams that he played on, it's something that and I had a good college career, left after a couple of years, but it wasn't that career, and that's something that every kid, no matter who you root for, dreams of having when they're young. The other thing I think that's important to keep in mind is I was 19, I think, when I left here, or barely 20 maybe. How old were you when you hit that shot?
21.
21. Kids. We were kids at that point, like Brandon Knight, like DeMarcus Cousins are right now. And, what he did to us killed us. Emotionally, it killed us. For that, and for a lot of us that bleed blue, we'll always remember it. But what he did also was a product of years and years of work, of spending time working on your game when nobody else is working on their game. And he put himself, the preparation he put in, the opportunity that presented itself, he took advantage of it and ripped our hearts out. And you gotta, no matter what, you have to appreciate that as an athlete and hopefully as a fan. I hope the fans had a great time out here tonight. Wish we could have won. It would have been nice, but I don't know if it's, if that's the destiny or what. I'm gonna have to figure out a way to somehow get this monkey off our back.
Rex, what did you think of the experience tonight for yourself, being back in this building, being on the floor in front of the fans?
Oh, it was great. Kentucky fans are unique. I obviously selfishly feel like we're the best, have the best fans in the world. We don't have a professional sports team, and I think that really, Kentucky basketball is our professional sport, so to speak, as far as fans and how much the young kids want to aspire to become basketball players and play for the Big Blue. So I always enjoy it. And coming back, just being on that floor, all kinds of memories flood back. In some ways, my time here just went by really, really fast. When I decided to come here, I plan on being here 4 years, and before I know it, it was over.
Chris, do you think Christian built up any amount of goodwill with the Kentucky fans for agreeing to come and, sort of subjecting himself?
I think in theory should have. In reality, I'm not sure. But it's an awfully magnanimous gesture. It's Christian and I played against one another for several years in the league. I was, like I said, just a little bit older. But you can't succeed when you look. We ain't the only guys that hated him. There were a lot of people across, take him to Carolina and see what happens. Take him to, wherever. They had an incredible run. And he was a huge part of that. So, I think that I'd like to think that he did create some goodwill. And no matter what, this was for, helped benefit an unbelievable cause. I was recruited very, very hard by Coach V. I'm sure you were, being a Buffalo, being a New York guy. I think that speaks for itself.
Time for a couple more questions.
Christian, when you see that shot for the thousandth times every NCAA tournament, how do you still feel when you see a replay of that shot?
I feel great. I get tickled inside, and I can't believe that it's such a part of our culture or sports culture, whatever you want to call it. You know, you don't realize it when it happens, and I still really don't even believe it. But, you know, with the ESPN and the media and today's technology, and the NCAA is not going anywhere, and March Madness is as popular as it ever has been. You know, it's not going anywhere, so it just, I love it. I love it.
And I want to strangle Pelfrey every time I watch it, just standing there. There was time left on the clock, John. I love John, by the way.
Any more questions?
You got it, guys?
At this point, the locker rooms will both be open if you want to exit.